All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. And as I continue to roll through conference by conference previews for the upcoming college football season, this time I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about a team that doesn't need a conference because it's a conference to itself. And I'm talking about one of the last two independents for college football. And I'm talking about the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. And we saw the Fighting Irish have one of their best seasons in program history last year, as Notre Dame won a school record 14 games en route to their first college. Well, not I take that back. Not their first college football playoff appearance, but they got to the championship game of the first 12-team college football playoff. It's not the first time that Notre Dame has gotten to the college football playoff, but of course, Notre Dame went on a run last January that really captivated a lot of people. And I'll say this: when Notre Dame football is good and when Notre Dame football is relevant, it is very good for college football. Why? Because Notre Dame is truly a brand. It's a blue blood. Notre Dame has fans everywhere. And of course, regardless of where Notre Dame plays, their fans travel. And you look at what Notre Dame has gotten back to being, okay? It started with Brian Kelly, of course. He got Notre Dame back to being a national brand. You look at the last 8 seasons, 7 of those years, um, between Brian Kelly and now Marcus Freeman, have seen Notre Dame win at least 10 games. Okay, last season, Notre Dame began the season ranked seventh in the AP poll. They were a top 20 team all season long. They got to the college football playoff, and of course, the rest was history. We saw Notre Dame. They won the first on campus game in the college football playoff. Remember last uh, December on that Friday night, they welcomed Indiana to South Bend. And of course, Notre Dame did their thing there before having to face Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, knocked them off, got past Penn State in the Orange Bowl. And then, of course, they came up short against Ohio State in the national championship game. But nonetheless, Notre Dame wants to get back clearly to the college football playoff. Notre Dame wants to win it all. And the thing is, as a football independent, like the Irish are, you know that your margin of error is very small. You go back to Notre Dame's second game of the year last year. They had just come off of that big win in College Station by knocking off Texas A&M, and they got shocked. Okay, they were upset by Northern Illinois out of the MAC, and then we saw the Irish come out like gangbusters for the rest of the year. And of course, that propelled them to the college football playoff. I guarantee you, there's a lot of teams, there's going to be a lot of teams out there from the power conferences this year that don't want Notre Dame to be good. Why? Because, of course, if Notre Dame's in that top 12, they're going to take a bid away from somebody. And, just jumping off the subject very quickly, this is what I talk about consistently when it comes to postseason college football, because when it was the BCS, there was an opportunity for Notre Dame to get in there. And of course, once they did, there were people who complained. Same thing when we had a 4-team college football playoff. And now it's the same thing with the 12-team college football playoff. Yes, they want Notre Dame there, but then when Notre Dame is good, like I said, they're going to bump somebody off from a bid in that college football playoff. Nonetheless, you look at this Notre Dame team under Marcus Freeman, and this is a guy that some people were very happy to see him get the Notre Dame job. He was their defensive coordinator when Brian Kelly abruptly left for LSU. And, there were some people who had some doubts, but nonetheless, in 3+ years at Notre Dame, Freeman has shown that he can get it done. Just look at his 33-10 record. Freeman is one of those head coaches that I truly feel that the Notre Dame players embody his mindset, because you look at the way that Notre Dame plays. They play tough, they play physical, and they play with a chip on their shoulder. And the thing is, when you play Notre Dame, you're not going to outwork them. Yes, you might be better than them, but you're not going to outwork them. And I think that goes back to their head coach. So they had they got to replace Riley Leonard at quarterback. Of course, they had him for a year after he transferred over from Duke. Is it going to be the redshirt freshman C.J. Carr this year at quarterback? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, I think what Notre Dame is going to do early and often this season, they're going to rely on their running backs. And I'm talking about junior Jeremiah, a pair of junior running backs, and Jeremiyah Love and Jadarian Price. And Jeremiyah Love is one of those backs that he gets better as the game goes on. He needs to be banged around a couple of times, and it's like watching a heavyweight boxer. Somewhat. Whereas what, he gets a couple of hits, he gets a sweat going, and then he gets into a rhythm. And I guarantee you that he's going to get fed the football early and often this season. And again, if you want to focus on Jeremiyah Love, you also have Jadarian Price, who is no slouch either. No seniors on the offensive line this year for Notre Dame. So let's see how that factors in as the season progresses. You've got Jaden Greathouse at wide receiver. He's a guy, you know what? He's not afraid of the big play. And I don't see Notre Dame, they're not going to sit up there. It's not going to be an Air Coryell situation for the Fighting Irish. But nonetheless, when they do throw the football, especially to the likes of Greathouse, he can be effective. No seniors on this offensive line, like I said, for Notre Dame. But one thing for me, we saw an Irish defense last year that was 11th in the nation. Can they be that rock solid once again? They're going to have to do it without their defensive coordinator, Al Golden, who is now in the NFL with the same position with the Cincinnati Bengals. So Marcus Freeman brings in former Rutgers head coach Chris Ash. And I'll tell you like this, it's not like Chris Ash is walking into a bad situation. He's got a lot of talent over there. Yes, Notre Dame's got some talent to replace their top two tacklers from last season. But you look at middle linebacker Drake Bowen. I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be in the mix to win the Butkus Award this year as the nation's top linebacker. My personal opinion. All right. I look at this Notre Dame secondary, and I see some NFL talent here. You look at the safeties with Adon Schuler. For one, I like Leonard Moore in that secondary. I also like Christian Gray. And I think that athletic secondary, is going to help Notre Dame throughout this season. So the polls are going to come out soon. I think Notre Dame is probably a top 12 team going into the season, in my opinion. I really want to see where the AP has them ranked. Uh, for Notre Dame, I'm looking at their schedule, and of course, credit to Marcus Freeman again, because he's not hiding with this team. He doesn't hide. And it's one of those, yeah, you know what? Notre Dame each and every week, they're not facing a ranked team. I get it, but they are facing some teams throughout this season where it's going to be important and imperative for them to take care of their business in those games if they want to once again be a playoff team. I talked about A&M last year, and that's how Notre Dame got their season kicked off by going to College Station and picking up a win. This time around, they're going to be in Miami against the Hurricanes. And you look at the Hurricanes, they've got a good team under Mario Cristobal. They were right on that cusp of getting to the playoff last year. Of course, what hurt them was that Syracuse loss late in the season because they didn't even get to the ACC championship game. And Mario Cristobal knows that he wants to get his season started on the right foot as his Canes are looking to get to the college football playoff. That right there is going to be a playoff like atmosphere for both of these teams just to begin the year. Okay. I also look at Notre Dame's first home game of the season where they welcome Texas A&M to South Bend. That is going to be must-see TV. I'm looking at the 27th of September when the Fighting Irish take a trip down to SEC country to take on Arkansas, which is then followed up by a playoff team from last year in Boise State out of the Mountain West. And of course, Boise State is one of those programs, regardless of the head coach, they'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. That's going to be a doozy. Notre Dame follows that up with a home game against NC State. I think the Wolfpack can be a tough team in the ACC this year. So we've got to pay attention to that game. And then on the 18th of October, I hope this is not it, but Notre Dame will host USC. And of course, there's rumors that SC could be looking to back out of this rivalry. And I'll tell you like this, we have seen our fair share of rivalries, unfortunately, go by the wayside due to realignment in college football. I please hope that this is not another one. People, maybe not everybody, but I do know that there are some buffs out there for college football that understand the importance of the contest between Notre Dame and USC. And I truly hope that this is not it. The back end of Notre Dame's schedule, beginning in at the beginning of November, some people might say it's easy. I'm not one to say that it is. They're at Boston College with Bill O'Brien as their head coach, of course. Notre Dame welcomes Navy to South Bend on the 8th of November. And it's one of those situations. You remember last year, Navy was steamrolling, okay, until they got a hold of Notre Dame and MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Then they're at Pitt in the middle of November. You never know what Pat Narduzzi and company could be cooking up. Notre Dame for Senior Day, they welcome Syracuse to South Bend on the 22nd of November. That's not going to be an easy game. We're seeing very quickly that Fran Brown is changing things at Syracuse. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I know that Syracuse is in a power league, but somebody at a bigger program, no disrespect to Syracuse, is going to scoop Fran Brown up sooner rather than later. And then the Fighting Irish finish up on the road in Palo Alto at Stanford. I think everything is there for Notre Dame to get back to the playoff. They just got to take care of their business, first and foremost, against the tough teams, and of course against the teams that they're supposed to beat. Last year, it took that Northern Illinois game to allow Marcus Freeman to really get the attention of his team. And nobody was really dialed in like Notre Dame for the rest of the season. You've got some key returning players from that squad last year, and I don't think that they let that happen. However, even though it's the start of a new season, you still got to get chemistry because it's still a new team. But nonetheless, I think this Notre Dame team, like I said before, they take on the embodiment of their head coach, Marcus Freeman, excuse me. They play, they have a get after you attitude. Okay, and I like that. And like I said before, I think as this season progresses, Notre Dame is going to get better and better. And again, if they finish in that top 12, okay, they're going to be playoff bound. And I think when it's all said and done, Notre Dame does enough to get back to the college football playoff. Like I said, this is a brand, okay? And we saw last year for Notre Dame how important it is for them to get to the college football playoff. Why? Because unlike everybody else, as a football independent, once they get there, they don't have to share that money with anybody in a conference. So Notre Dame really went to the bank after last year's playoff run, and I think they're going to give it everything that they have to get back there. But for Irish fans, buckle up because I think this is going to be another exciting college football campaign for the Golden Domers. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it is greatly appreciated. And for all of you college football buffs out there, as I continue to break things down for the upcoming college football season, we've got the Power Four leagues in the bag, as well as the Mountain West and Notre Dame. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking about the Pac-12. And of course, it's the Pac-2 just for this season with Washington State and Oregon State before they get some friends to join them for next season. But definitely check that out tomorrow on this channel. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports. And if you give me that follow, I'll give you that follow right back. And the same can be said for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can check us out at Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.